What if the true rulers of ancient Egypt weren't pharaohs, but unseen beings who shaped the wind, painted the sunrise, and judged your soul's fate? For over 3,000 years, these gods influence every harvest, victory, and heartbeat along the Nile. Today, we enter the hidden chapter of Egyptian mythology to meet 12 deities, some honored in golden temples, others feared in the night, and a few nearly erased from history. Their stories echo creation itself, betrayal and resurrection, cosmic battles waged daily between light and darkness. These gods weren't just myths. Their power was embedded in the laws of the universe, the flow of seasons, and the destiny of kings. And as the sands give up their secrets, archaeologists are discovering that some played far more complex and sometimes controversial roles than once believed. Our journey begins where all Egyptian tales start, not with a kingdom or a man, but with the god who willed himself into existence, Atum, the self-created one. In the beginning, only the dark waters of none existed, an endless ocean of chaos. From this void emerged Atum, born of no parent, rival, or spark, but his own will. He rose upon the primeval mound, the first land to break none's surface, and began creation in an unexpected way, through the breath of life. From his exhalation came Shu, god of air, and Tefnut, goddess of moisture, together carrying the forces of breath and water, the foundations of life. Atum embodied both creation and destruction, able to bring worlds into being or return them to nothing. His symbols, the Ankh, was scepter, and sun disk, marked him as ruler, sustainer, and divine light. Scholars debate the deeper meaning of his myth. Some see echoes of the Big Bang, others a reflection of Egypt's first unifying ruler. For the ancient Egyptians, Atum's greatest act wasn't his own birth. It was the creation of a divine bloodline that would shape the universe itself. The first to follow were twins destined to hold the world apart, making space for life to flourish. Shu and Tefnut, air and moisture. From Atum's breath came Shu, god of air, and his twin sister Tefnut, goddess of moisture. More than the first divine pair, they embodied balance itself. Shu was the unseen force in every breath, the warm desert wind, the cool breeze after sunset. Tefnut was his counterpart, the dew at dawn, the rain that made the Nile's banks bloom. Their role reached beyond nature. At creation's dawn, the sky goddess Nut and earth god Geb clung so tightly that no light, air, or life could exist. Atum commanded Shu to separate them. With immense strength, Shu lifted Nut high above Geb, creating the first horizon, a moment when order overcame chaos. Shu became the eternal pillar keeping heaven and earth apart so light could flood the world. His ostrich feather symbolized air and light, delicate yet powerful enough to uphold cosmic order. Tefnut completed the balance, her moisture sustaining life born from Shu's air. For Egyptians, they were not distant myths but daily reality. Every gust of wind and drop of rain was proof Shu and Tefnut still maintained the harmony of the world. From their union came two children who would shape the stage for all mortal and divine stories. Geb and Nut, earth and sky. From air and moisture came Geb, god of the earth, and Nut, goddess of the sky, locked in an inseparable embrace. Geb's body was fertile land, Nut's the star-studded arch of heaven. Their closeness left no room for life, so Shu intervened, lifting Nut high above. From then on, Geb lay beneath forests, deserts in the Nile, while Nut stretched overhead, swallowing the sun at dusk and birthing it at dawn, a daily reminder that renewal follows darkness. One myth tells of Nut's forbidden pregnancies. Fearing her children might threaten his rule, Ra decreed she could not give birth on any day of the year. Thoth, however, gambled with the moon to create 5 hidden days outside the calendar. During these, Nut bore Osiris, Isis, Seth, and Nephthys, 4 deities central to Egypt's greatest legends. Nut's image, arching protectively over Geb, is among Egypt's most iconic. Her star-covered body was believed to carry the souls of the dead across the night sky, while Geb's laughter caused earthquakes. Together, they embodied the eternal marriage of heaven and earth, forever apart, yet bound. From their children would come gods who ruled life and death, and one who would judge every soul. Osiris, god of the afterlife. Born of Geb and Nut during the stolen days, Osiris was destined for greatness. To the Egyptians, he was more than a ruler. He was the bridge between life and eternity. His green skin symbolized rebirth in the fertile soil left by the Nile's floods. In his hands, the crook and flail marked him as shepherd and king, guiding the living and judging the dead. As Egypt's first legendary king, Osiris brought agriculture, law, and order to a chaotic land. But his reign ended in betrayal. His brother Seth, god of storms and disorder, envied his power. Tricking Osiris into lying in a chest, Seth sealed it and cast it into the Nile. Isis, Osiris's devoted wife, found and revived him long enough to conceive Horus. But Osiris would not return to the living. He became lord of the underworld. His realm, the Field of Reeds, was paradise without sickness or death. Entry required passing judgment in the Hall of Mot, where hearts were weighed against her feather of truth. Festivals each year retold his death and resurrection, linking his myth to the Nile's life-giving floods, a reminder that from death springs renewal. Set, the storm and chaos. Set was the opposite of Osiris. Where Osiris brought fertility and order, Set brought drought, storms, and upheaval. In early myths, he wasn't entirely evil. He was a desert god who defended Ra's solar bark from the serpent Apep. Over time, politics, shifting alliances, and the story of fratricide darkened his image. Jealous of Osiris, Set plotted his murder. In one tale, he tricked Osiris into lying in a chest custom-made to fit him, sealed it, and cast it into the Nile. In another, he dismembered Osiris, scattering the pieces across Egypt until Isis gathered and revived him briefly. Despite his betrayal, Set's complexity kept him from being a simple villain. At times, he was worshipped as a protector, especially for battling Apep in the underworld. Some historians believe his later demonization reflected Egypt's view of foreign desert enemies. Even his form was enigmatic, depicted with the Set animal, a creature with a curved snout, squared ears, and a forked tail, still debated by scholars. Feared or revered, Set embodied a truth the Egyptians knew well. Chaos always lurks at the edge of order, and every night Egypt's sun god faced that chaos head-on. Ra, the sun god. Ra was the heartbeat of the Egyptian cosmos, the blazing sun whose light fed crops, marked days, and held back darkness. Each morning he sailed across the sky in his solar bark, watching over the living. At night he descended into the underworld, where the serpent Apep waited to devour him and plunge the world into eternal night. To the Egyptians, this was no mere symbol. Ra's nightly battle with Apep was real, a clash of light and chaos. Armed with divine fire and aided by protective gods, including Set, Ra faced the serpent head-on. Sunrise meant victory. Failure meant the end of life. Ra's form shifted with the day. At dawn, he was Khepri, the scarab pushing the sun into the sky. At noon, he was Ra at full power. By sunset, he became Atum, the elder preparing for the underworld's dangers. This cycle was a blueprint for life, death, and rebirth. Temples like Karnak and Heliopolis honored him, timing rituals to the sun's path. Pharaohs claimed his authority, making defiance of the king an affront to Ra himself. Yet even the sun god needed wisdom to keep the cosmos in order, and for that, he turned to the god of writing. Thoth, god of wisdom and writing. If Ra was the light, Thoth was the mind guiding it. Depicted with an ibis head and a divine quill, he was Egypt's scribe, keeper of knowledge, master of magic, and recorder of all events in mortal and divine realms. His writings were more than history. They were law, magic, and prophecy combined. In the Hall of Judgment, Thoth stood beside Osiris, recording each soul's verdict as their heart was weighed against Mot's feather of truth. Beyond the afterlife, he was credited with creating the calendar, measuring time, and adding the 5 hidden days that allowed Nut to give birth to the gods. Thoth was also a peerless magician, authoring spells for healing, protection, and even resurrection. Later traditions linked him to the mysterious emerald tablets, said to contain the secrets of alchemy and the universe, influencing mystical thought far beyond Egypt. His wisdom shaped governance and education. Priests and scribes invoked him before any important work. To the Egyptians, Thoth was proof that strength alone couldn't hold the cosmos. Wisdom was equally vital. Yet while Thoth's pen shaped reality, another god would shape it with his hands, building the physical world from divine thought. Ptah, creator and craftsman. In Memphis, Ptah was revered as the master craftsman of the gods. Unlike warriors or sky deities, he ruled through creation, shaping the cosmos with thought and word, as a sculptor shapes clay. Egyptians believed Ptah imagined the world into being, then spoke it into existence. His power was precise, deliberate, and rooted in order. Depicted as a mummified figure holding the Ankh and Waz scepter, Ptah symbolized stability, life, and authority. He was patron of builders, metalworkers, and architects, and his blessing was sought before raising temples or forging sacred objects. Archaeologists have even found a hidden chamber in his great temple at Memphis, likely a sacred workshop for crafting offerings and ritual tools. Ptah's work was bound to Mot, the principle of universal order. Every creation, from towering obelisks to delicate amulets, was expected to honor this balance. For Egyptians, flawed craftsmanship was more than a mistake. It was a violation of divine harmony. Yet even the finest creations could not hold chaos at bay forever. Beyond the edges of order, a vast serpent waited, eager to swallow the sun and unmake all that Ptah and the gods had built. Apep, serpent of chaos, Horus. Beneath the world, where the Nile's waters turned to a black river, stirred Apep, Apophis, the embodiment of chaos. This colossal serpent sought only one thing: to devour the sun and return creation to nothingness. Each night, as Ra's solar bark entered the underworld, Apep struck with storms, darkness, and violent waves, trying to capsize the vessel and plunge the cosmos into eternal night. Every sunrise was proof of Ra's victory, but the Egyptians knew the serpent would always return. Temples against Apep were not for worship but for battle. Priests performed binding spells, stabbed wax effigies, and burned them to ash. Protective amulets were worn to shield against his influence. Archaeologists have uncovered carvings depicting his defeat, reminders that chaos could be fought but never truly destroyed. Yet Apep's existence had purpose. Without chaos, there was no measure for order. His constant attacks kept the gods vigilant and the cosmic balance in motion. For mortals, surviving chaos required more than divine victories. It called for a guardian in the human realm, a falcon-eyed protector who would defend justice in the throne of Egypt. Horus, the falcon god. Horus was born from tragedy and destiny. Son of Osiris and Isis, he arrived after his father's killing, hidden by his mother from Seth's wrath. From the start, he was more than a child, the living symbol of justice, heir to Egypt's throne, and avenger of his father. Falcon-headed, Horus embodied the bird that rules the sky. Keen sight, swift strikes, relentless vigilance. His eyes became powerful emblems. The eye of Horus, left, for healing, protection, and restoration. The right eye linked to the sun and Ra's strength. Soldiers, sailors, and rulers alike wore these signs as amulets against harm. His defining saga is the long contest was set for Egypt's crown. Battles of strength and cunning, shape-shifting duels, divine tribunals, and narrow escapes from treachery. In the end, Horus prevailed, restoring Ma'at, the cosmic order, and ruling the living world. From then on, every pharaoh was the living Horus. Crowns, regalia, and royal posture echoed his image, proclaiming divine legitimacy. Temples like Edfu still display towering reliefs of his victories, carved in stone that glows in desert light. Yet Horus's triumphs rest on one figure: Isis, mother, protector, and unrivaled enchantress, whose courage and magic ensured his survival and shaped Egypt's fate. Isis, goddess of magic and motherhood. Isis was more than a goddess. She was the heart of Egyptian mythology. Wife of Osiris, mother of Horus, and mistress of magic, she was revered as the ultimate protector and healer. When Seth murdered Osiris, it was Isis who searched every corner of Egypt to gather his scattered remains. With spells known only to her, she restored him long enough to conceive Horus, ensuring the royal bloodline would not end. Her magic wasn't limited to resurrection. Isis was said to know the secret names of the gods themselves, a power that allowed her to bend reality. Farmers prayed to her for fertile crops, mothers for the safety of their children, and rulers for the strength to lead. She was often depicted with a throne-shaped crown or with outstretched wings, shielding the living and the dead alike. The worship of Isis spread far beyond the borders of Egypt, lasting well into the Roman Empire and influencing later depictions of divine motherhood. Temples dedicated to her were centers of healing, prophecy, and initiation into sacred mysteries. To her followers, she was not just a goddess of the past, but a living presence, one who could intervene directly in human lives. Conclusion: from Atum, who willed himself into being, to Isis, whose magic defied death, the gods of ancient Egypt formed a web of power, balance, and eternal struggle. They were creators and destroyers, guardians and challengers, each playing their part in maintaining the fragile order of the cosmos. Some, like Ra and Horus, ruled the skies. Others, like Ptah, shaped the world with their hands. And then there were those like Apep, ever waiting to unmake it all. Together, their myths weren't just stories. They were the operating system of an entire civilization, dictating everything from the rise of kings to the planting of crops. Even today, their symbols survive, in jewelry and art, in the very language we use to describe light and darkness, order and chaos. Perhaps that's the most enduring magic of all. These gods have never truly left us. They're still here, in the stories we tell, waiting for those curious enough to seek them out. And somewhere, in the shifting sands of Egypt, there may still be more forgotten gods, untold myths, just waiting to be uncovered.